Welcome back, everybody. The Club 200, presented by BF Goodrich Tires, 9th round of the ASA Championship National Tour this year. And you got to look there at the top 5. Garvey having a very strong run. He's lost a little bit of that margin and they've got into some traffic, but that's just sort of the nature of the beast here right now. But Garvey looks to have an awfully strong, very, very tough package right now. One of the guys that we're watching as he's back out on the track is number 63, Robbie Pyle. Sans hood, problems on the back deck of the car as we hop on board, but as Rob talked about at the top of the show, he's 3rd in the championship right now. He's, I would imagine, looking for any kind of possible points he can get.
That fender's flapping on the front, but Gary St. Amant, that rear deck lid is something that might cause nightmares for you. That trunk that's made out of metal right there, that's something Joey Clanton did and kept you out of the championship, didn't it?
I think it was La Crosse, Wisconsin, where Joey had backed into the wall and had a lot of body work gone, and yeah, it was that deck lid with that spoiler on it that got him enough points that ultimately cost me $75,000 last year for the championship.
So they just, I mean, you can just have that piece sitting there just in case, so you can bolt it in. And
yeah, and it just so happens that my crew chief from last year, Bill McGowan, is now Robbie's crew chief, so he's obviously taken advantage of everything that that has been worked against him.
You see in the graphic here just how close that championship battle is. Miller 105 adrift to Sawinski, but then Pyle came in here only 35 behind Busch, and not that far clear by what, some 12 points of or 18 points of the gentleman behind him. So Robbie obviously very attuned to that point scenario right now, and really not running all that bad considering the lack of effective aero in spots on that car.
He's going to take a pretty big hit tonight. You know, obviously there's going to be a lot of cars running here at the end of a 200-lap race, and it could end up hurting Robbie's chances for the championship this year.
And that's going to be a real shame. Meanwhile, here's number 1 Sawinski, Sorensen, the number 29 behind him, and then Scott Legacy, the black car, with just really the contingency decals on it. Low, Sorensen, boy, did he drop low to try and take a run at Sawinski. Couldn't quite do it, floated back up again, but people exploring those lines.
Now, if you think about this, Kevin Sawinski is showing Reed Sorensen his line. He's showing his line, showing his line. Sorensen's fast enough. He's as fast as Kevin right now, but now he's starting to play a little bit, saying, okay, teacher, you may not be showing me everything, but I'm going to try and find something else to get around you.
Well, I mean, you can be faster, you can run somebody down, but if you just stay behind them, you're never going to be faster than they are. You're never going to pass them. At some point, you got to get creative.
Right, and I think Jim, you know, he brought up a good point. You know, he's definitely followed Kevin enough tonight to know where his strong points and weak points are, and eventually, I would look for the 29 car to be pressuring the 1 car a lot harder than what he is right now.
Look there at the 04 of Zach Niesner, of course, Miller's teammate. Meanwhile, Garvey up front, and that margin has ballooned. I mean, just a couple laps ago, it was 1.1 seconds. It's now 3.6. Garvey is absolutely scything through traffic.
Yeah, he finished way back in 6th last race. I mean, he is on a charge this year. He's at a fast race car virtually everywhere we've gone. And we talked about him being a high bank specialist. He won at I-70 a couple years ago. He's been now dominating Cedar Rapids since, and that's a flat racetrack. When you come to a medium compound bank track, man, this Garvey guy's pretty good just about everywhere now.
Go back a little bit. This is 11th spot, 86, having himself a very good run, taking over the Jenneke car, Ricky Turner. And obviously it's a tough deal for him coming in, not real familiar with these cars. And he's up against Peter Cozzolino, who I think continues to be one of the big stories tonight. This is for 11th. Cozzolino takes it. With the problems he had earlier for Cozzolino, if he cracked the top 10, that's a great effort, and it looks like he's just going quicker and quicker.
Well, if there's anywhere that Peter Cozzolino can overcome adversity, it's the track that's familiar to him. The track that we mentioned, he had to take the car to the race shop to change the motors to get in this backup car, but they're very close on their setup. They worked very hard. Specifically for this race, the McDonald's sponsorship comes out of this area, so they want to do well for their sponsors as well. Going a lap down out of Avon, Indiana. He's in a car that was driven last year by the 11 team with David Stremme behind the wheel, trying to get some notes off of Howie Leto as they won this race last year here in at Salem Speedway.
Look at this move here. Cozzolino way down low, trying to get underneath Cleaver, and he's going to try and follow. Cozzolino loosened up a little bit, and that was a nice piece of driving. He could have easily drifted up and clipped Cleaver, and he just sort of survived it, I think, Gary.
Yes, he did. You know, Pete had a few skirmishes early in the year, and here the last couple races, that team's really seemed to get their act together. Pete coming forward in a big hurry. What a great race tonight for Peter Cozzolino.
I got to ask you here, we got a car number 54, couple laps down, up in the fast groove. These guys coming up to race them. from your perspective, is just how frustrating is that when you're in the middle of a battle and you get parked?
Well, you know, a lot of times, you know, they get there before you know it, and if you're up high, you need to let all the cars go before you try and get down. And Dave Mader obviously got hung up high there and did all he could do to let those lead cars go.
As we went green, who immediately dropped low to start blowing by guys? Number 44, Peter Casalino. And my question there, as we were listening to that, was, did he stop so early and pick up fuel that he's maybe a little iffy on it? And number 3, Bill Clements into the wall hard. And we've got a yellow, and oh, Zach Niesner bottled up, got into him as well.
Niesner had pitted under green early on. It could have been a handling situation, but just wrapped up in this one as that youngster trying to make a limited number of starts for the SS Racing team and Juice Batteries had nowhere to go, it appeared, as he got stuck to the outside for the spin at Clements.
Up the lead, that's Lagacy behind him, but down a lap apparently, and Lagacy going strong and fast as well. But Casalino made that move underneath Beebe, and he looked like Kinzer for a minute. Back end came out, and he just stayed on the throttle. And well, I'll tell you, Casalino is on a mission today.
And Rick Beebe really put himself in a good position there to lead that race under caution and get those 5 bonus points. But Beebe's had a really quiet run tonight, and to get that lead means they are calling great strategy on pit road.
Another guy who's having a great run is number 6. That's Kyle Jones out of Springfield, Ohio, the JBM Racing machine. And he's found himself up in the top 5 as well, although he's being cycled down a bit on board with Travis Kittleson. And now we're starting to see some of these other guys, a big march toward the front. He's in 8th right now. In front of him is Garvey. In front of him is Cleaver. There is Cleaver with Garvey. And oh boy, here we go. Miller trying to drop down low. Trying to protect just a little bit. And there is Garvey. Let's check in with Rob on Garvey's strategy.
One pit stop glitch and you go from the dominant car to deep in the field. Shane Tesh, what happened on that pit stop, and can you get back to the front?
I think we can get back to the front. Kind of running down on laps there. The Janikin car's been strong all night long. We stalled the car on our tire stop here. Got us a little bit behind, but I think we can make it up. We've been pretty strong. See if we can give Janikin a good finish for their first race with us.
Even the seasoned veterans like Mike Garvey can make a pit stop problem, guys.
And even seasoned veterans like Mike Garvey get trapped down low, get that car sliding just a little bit. He just saved a big one there.
He had a loose lug nut at I-70, jumped back to 20th. Guess what he did there? He won the race. He won the race. So he knows how to battle back from adversity on pit road.
Motored back. But we see right now that that car's not working quite as well low as it did earlier, because he gets down underneath Cleaver there, and the car starts to loosen up big time as he's trying to maintain that speed.
Yeah, it takes a little bit for these BF Goodrich tires to build up air pressure, and you know, you get a little bit of a tight race car in the center, loose off, and you know, as soon as they get probably 10-15 laps under the belts here, I'd say that you'll probably see Mike heading back to the front.
Well, one of the things Mike has said all year long is that his car, particularly the last 4 or 5 races, always takes a little while to come in. Some of the other cars are quick pretty immediately. His takes a bit, so this should be a lot of fun. Look at Sorensen now. He's got Miller all over the back of him. Sorensen trying to get through some traffic here.
Notice how low Butch Miller's going in turns 3 and 4. On the restart, he was also way down on the apron on turns 1 and 2, so Butch Miller's trying to find some room to run.
Man, Mader spins. And Kittleson was coming up and almost collected Miller, who'd obviously backed out of it just a little bit. So Mader goes around, another caution at this stage.
Remember, the Alabama gang made 2 starts last year for Lowe's Motorsports, back behind the wheel for the first time this season. And you know, I hear so much about drivers that come to this series, Gary. It's adjusting to these BFG radial tires that is the adjustment to make. And you mentioned tire pressures. Could that have been the reason for the car spinning?
Well, I don't know. I almost think he might have been up in the groove. I'd say probably somebody tagged Dave there and got him going.
Well, he makes his way down into the pit lane right now. So as we have now completed 153 laps, and there it is right there, a little nudge from Mr. Reed Sorensen. Gives Mader the big ride and the big scrape along the wall. We'll be back.